Dear student, today we discuss on the identification of the functional system of tractor. Part 3, the study of gearbox. There are three types of the gearbox available on tractors, namely sliding mesh gearbox, constant mesh, synchromesh gearbox. The sliding mesh gear, most of the indigenous tractors are fitted with the sliding mesh or sliding cum constant mesh gearbox. And the housing is made up of the cast iron. It is a rigid and construction serves the purpose of tractor frame. Usually the main and counter shaft are parallel to the clutch shaft, but there are certain cases where the shafts are transverse in case of the Russian DT40 tractors. In condition of the two shafts, the third car is the reverse gear. The upper shaft is known as the main shaft or lathe shaft. The gears on the lathe shaft, those on the main shaft slide to mesh with the suitable gear on counter shaft. Gear shaped rail and forks are used to shift the gear from one position to the another. And the shift gear from one position to another, the shift gears are kept in position with the help of the spring loaded detain balls or by other device, and that allow the open pair of gears to engage at one time. Now, otherwise transmission system will not function and damage may occur to some of the components. The shafts are mounted in the transmission housing on bearings. The constant mesh gearbox, the constant mesh transmission has a parallel shaft and one over the other with gear in a constant mesh. And the gears on main shaft are mount and bushing and are free to rotate along with the counter shaft gear without affecting the main shaft when in neutral. When the gear lever is engaged, the coupling device which have an internal spline of the main shaft moves from one side to the another to lock the free gear on main shaft, and thus main shaft get drives through the driven gear and coupling unit. And the constant mesh type transmission fitted on a Ford 3600 tractors provided the 8 forward and 2 reverse gear ratio, selected by the 2 lever maintained on the top cover plate, and the longer lever select 4 forward and 1 reverse ratio, while the shorter lever provides the high and low range in each gear, and with the exception of the helical gear drive to the PTO and the main countershaft, the gears of the spur gear type, all the gears being in a constant mesh gear, and gear train connections made by sliding coupling and connectors, and the system is incorporate the transmission type PTO and main countershaft is spline internal to accept the external spline. uh, the Synchromesh gearbox. The Synchromesh gearbox is basically the constant mesh or transmission with an extra device called as the synchronizer. The equalizer the speed of the mating parts before the engage, and this system is a very common on automobiles and is very rarely used on a tractor transmission. And different parts of the synchronizing unit, the hub is a spline to shaft, and the synchronizer sleeve is mounted on the hub. To look rings hold the shifter plate out against the sleeve. Each bronze blocking the rings have a 3 slot into which the end of the shifter plate fit. The inner surface of the blocking rings are cone shaped and match the conical shape of driven gear shoulder which they contact, and these cone shaped surface provide the frictional force to synchronize the speed of the main shaft and gear. During the synchronization, the sleeve is moved toward the selected gear, pushing the blocking ring to the right, and the ring contact the shoulder of the driven gear and begin to synchronize the speed of the two parts. And to complete the shift, the sleeve tooth passes through the block ring teeth because of both are now rotating at the same speed, mesh with the clutch teeth on the driven gear. Thank you.